Welcome once again to Children's Circle. Today I have actually got some real children, some of the most intelligent children I know. They are my grandchildren. There's Paxton and Elaine Knudtson. And today we're going to be discussing 1 Peter 3:13 to 22. I was curious about what this meant to you. It says here, "Who is going to harm you if you're eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed." Have you ever suffered for doing what is right?
Yes, very much.
So tell me, what did that look like?
I was minding my own business, and then this kid came up and he was trying to do something with me that was against the school rules, and I was like, no. And then the teacher came and she heard him talking to me, and then I got in trouble and he didn't.
Okay, how was it that you were suffering for doing right there?
I was refusing to do that thing against the school rules, and he was saying, hey, let's do it, and I'm like, no, and then I get punished for that.
Okay, now how did you react? Eden, there's two ways to react to that. To be accused of doing something that you didn't do. What would be the good way to react?
Not make a big fuss. We are God's children, and we're doing something wrong if we're making a bad example of ourselves, because then it's not like, oh, I want to be like her, and she's a really good example of a Christian. It's more like, oh, is that a Christian?
Very good. That actually brings us to exactly what they're talking about here. Because it says, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. What hope do we have as Christians?
We have hope that Jesus will come again.
Okay, and what does that mean?
That means basically the whole book of Revelations.
What do you think it'll be like when Jesus comes again?
Well, I'd like to say that if we go to Revelations, it says that it's going to be glorious for all who know him, but the rest are going to be afraid.
So there's judgment and there's also reward, right? What are some of the things that we can hope for in this life? Being a Christian, what's the hope that we have, Paxton?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Not really. I don't know.
How is your life different as a Christian than if you were a non-Christian?
I believe in Jesus.
Yeah, and how does that help you?
That helps me with my faith, and it also helps with life itself.
I'm interested in that. Give me some examples of how being a Christian helps you in your life.
I feel at ease, and I feel confident in God's word, because he says that in Psalms it says, your rod and your staff comfort me. And that's what I feel like all the time. I feel like I have nothing to be afraid of. But we can all get afraid. We just don't. The best thing to do when you're afraid is just give your fear to God. Talk to him.
So that's a wonderful hope, isn't it? That we don't have anything to be afraid of. Paxton, here's one. I know that sometimes you get into trouble. What does your faith in Jesus do for you when you get in trouble, or when you do something maybe you shouldn't do, or you get caught doing something? What's your hope at that point?
My hope is that I will try not to do it again.
Well, what about God holding that against you and saying, she talked about the good and the bad. So the revelation comes, Jesus comes, and you've got all these sins. What do you do? What's your hope?
Jesus died on the cross for that reason.
Okay. So that's a great hope, isn't it? So what do we do when we're not walking the way we should, when we don't feel like we're doing right? What is our hope then?
That we find the light.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate the help that you've given me today, and I hope that you've all been able to learn a little bit more about this passage in 1 Peter 3. Thanks.